ambition. I've been having this vision. Either rise or you fall. I'm on a mission, bringing my dreams to fruition. I ain't playing at all. Bring out the body bags, I'm about to kill them, deliver them to the mortician. I gotta do what I gotta do. That's for my fist, back in my face. I gotta do what I gotta do. I pray to God, he never came. I'ma do me, I'ma do me. That's in my blood, I never change. That's in my blood, I never change. That's in my blood, I never change.
You're watching the WSL Post Show here at the Rip Curl Pro Bells Beach, Top 4 of the World Surf League Championship Tour. Finishing up some heavy action here on Good Friday in the state of Victoria. World number 1, Brisa Hennessy, continues to succeed as she's into the semifinal with a battle with world number 2, Carissa Moore, as they will fight to hang on to a yellow jersey into the final at Bells Beach. Pretty scrappy heat there with Joanne DeFay. Came down to a .03 decision in Brisa's favor. And it was so interesting in Portugal when she was knocked out of the event. She kind of was like, well, that was nice, kind of referencing maybe the yellow jersey would be gone. I feel like this second chance that she's feeling to hang on to it is just giving her more and more confidence as she's into one of her best results of her career at Bells Beach. Joe Trappell with Shannon Hughes, Richie Lovett here on the Harvey Norman host set. A pretty dramatic day. You saw kind of those last couple of heats of the day, Shannon, from inside the booth. Conditions got a little smaller, a little bit more challenging, but Brisa still looked powerful out there.
Oh, Brisa looked great. Her surfing was right there. Absolutely deserves the yellow jersey with no doubt and to be in that world title conversation. But it was a real challenge for the surfers. They had to make a lot of adjustments that I think they wouldn't have been prepping for, having seen the conditions we had on offer this morning. Yeah,
thinking about this morning, it feels like a different day. It was really glassy. We got great surf through the higher tide as well, Rich. We had some big moments.
Yeah, there was amazing conditions today, and this onshore breeze that we have now, it actually wasn't really on the charts. It was supposed to be offshore all day, so the unpredictability of Bells Beach continues to astound us. We didn't have any swell at the start of the forecast, and we've seen some of the best waves I've ever seen at Bells for this event. So go figure.
It's been so special. Now we have a good opportunity to catch up with our world number 1. Brisa Hennessy is with Kaipo.
Thank you, Joe. Brisa, how good is it to be Brisa Hennessy right now? Yellow leaders jersey, and you're in the semifinals.
Oh man, yeah, it's pretty surreal. That was definitely a really tough heat. Made some mistakes there at the end, and Joe is an amazing competitor. And you know what? I'm still trying to find myself, and I think it's a constant journey of who we are as humans. We're constantly reinventing ourselves, and you know, there's so many highs and lows. But I'm grateful. I'm going to try to ride this high as long as possible.
Well, let's talk about your journey. Fell off tour, came back through the Challenger Series, got on tour, your first CT win, momentum, yellow leaders jersey, and now your best results so far ever at Bells.
Yeah, you know, I don't know. I think your journey for every person is so different and beautiful in so many different ways. And, you know, I never cried so much last year in my entire life. And I felt like in those moments, you know, where everyone can break through and kind of dig deep and kind of find themselves in a different way and kind of be uncomfortable, those are the most beautiful moments. And I wouldn't take last year for granted or do it over again. You know, it's definitely made me who I am today, and I know that there'll be many low moments in the future. But yeah, it's all part of it, isn't it?
Well, enjoy this moment right now, Brisa, and relish in it. Brisa Hennessy off to the semifinals, Joe.
That's right, Kaipo. What a role that she's had, getting really comfortable in this yellow jersey. And Kaipo reminded her of that journey that she's been through. After Mexico just last season, she went through that emotional feeling of I'm off tour. And then in a condensed Challenger season, she won a major event in Europe. And she's right back where she belongs. It's all momentum for Brisa, going through the highs and lows of competitive surfing. Fun part for Brisa, she's on top of the world.
Oh, it's so special to see her holding on to that jersey and really just soaking in that moment, because it is fleeting and it could change. And I mean, for this one, she paddled out and conditions were so different than what she would have prepped for today that anything could have happened. So to see her just living in the moment is really special.
Well, it was a pretty heavyweight day when we think about Bubble Watch. There's so many legendary human beings on the wrong side of the cut. And it was pretty devastating to see the look on Sally's face going down to Courtney Conlog in the quarterfinals today, and also losing one of the greats at Bells, one of the all-time greats, to Carissa Moore. Stephanie Gilmore out of the contest. What does that mean for her chances to make the midseason cut, Rich?
Oh, she's making things pretty difficult for herself, both Stephanie and Sally, actually. Although I feel like they will make a bit of a jump up the leaderboard. There's still work to do when we get to Margaret River in Western Australia. But that name there that's highlighted, Courtney Conlog, she's the one that's charging through. She's going to rocket up the leaderboard here, and perhaps even with this result, she's going to get herself out of trouble. I don't feel like she's done yet either.
Right, and remember, 10,000 points for a CT victory. Courtney Conlog looking for a 4th bell if she can do it this year. That would be very impressive to put her up in the better part of the rankings heading into Margaret River. Courtney takes on Tyler Wright. Tyler saying that she hasn't felt this good in her performance in almost 4 years. Carissa will take on Brisa Hennessy for a battle for the yellow jersey. If Brisa makes the final, she'll stay world #1. We'll watch that closely. But I think the celebratory story is Tyler looking for her first bell, finding her form again. That's got to be such an amazing feeling as a 2-time world champ, to really feel like you're back.
Well, it's that thought that she wasn't feeling that way. That's what's the emotional part of it. And now to know that she's back. She's surfing so well. She's got her team behind her, the whole family down here, and to really see her being able to just perform to the best of her abilities, that's what's really special about this moment.
Steph just taking it all in with her coach, Tommy Whitaker, after a tough loss to Carissa Moore. Just the energy of that heat was definitely challenging, Rich. There was falls on both sides, a couple of little errors. It felt like she didn't find a quick rhythm that you always expect from Stephanie Gilmore. You have to wonder if the pressure of the season was on top of her in that heat.
Had to have been. It's the only explanation, really, when you think of Steph's performances over the years at Bells Beach. You know, she's so reliable. And for some reason, she was just a bit off in that heat. And like you mentioned, Carissa was a bit off too. So the door was open for her, and Steph had the opportunity right at the end to open up on that last wave and turn that into the score. And unfortunately, I whether it was fitness, she just couldn't convert on that final wave, unfortunately. So she's just digesting right now the gravity of what's going on here. It's a must-win situation in WA, or close to a win. Once we get this event done and we actually know the points race, that'll give her a clearer picture. But you know, it's tough right now.
It's crazy. Yeah, well, a lot to really look at number-wise. One throwaway from the first 5 events. That's obviously pipeline for Stephanie Gilmore. Unfortunately, she couldn't compete. But now she's got, you know, semifinal Portugal, quarterfinal Bells. It's going to be a lot of pressure heading into the West as we go back to the world champ seed. Carissa Moore and Stephanie Gilmore, the most decorated athletes on the top 17, and to see them on the bowl. The crowd filled up for this one. Things started off a little bit slow, but Carissa definitely looked strong with her carves. It still felt like she was in a low gear waiting for a bigger wave to come through, but she definitely looked solid, Shannon.
And it was at the start of that heat that it was still pretty glassy. The wind had been up, but that texture hadn't hit, and it was about halfway through, and that's where both of these women went down with slips that were totally uncharacteristic of the 2 best in the world. For Carissa to be able to keep that momentum, though, that confidence moving forward, and to stay really solid on her feet, took her to a victory over someone who would be one of her deadliest threats out at a wave like Bells.
When you see Gilmore connected to the ball, it's like she has so much flow, so much style and rhythm, and there was highlights of that throughout this heat, Rich, but from start to finish, she had to do some big recoveries, like that layback to recover from a couple of stumbles before that wave.
That was a sick turn. I love that little progression hit on through the inside there from Steph. And, well, like you said, you know, Bells and Steph is like strawberries and cream. They go together pretty well. And, yeah, Steph just maybe not taking advantage of that outside bowl enough.
When you look at the 783, that was courtesy of the big layback finish for Gilmore. So she put herself in a position to compete, and now all focus on Margaret River to see if Gilmore will stay on tour for the back end of the season. You know, also when you connect Steph to Sally, those are 2 big Australian names. I mean, those are crazy profiles to fill if they're absent from the tour in the back end of the season. We're talking about over a decade of highlights and big moments on tour.
And thinking about the fact that the beach today was packed with so many little girls. How many of those little girls have posters of Steph and Sal as their Australian heroes on the wall? To be down here to watch them perform, but also that heartache of losing to a crowd like that.
Oh, as we review the tape, Courtney Conlogue versus Sally Fitzgibbons, both in a similar situation of their career, both with 12 wins apiece, both Bells champs, both in the wrong side of the cut, needed a huge win today. It was all about Courtney taking control at the start.
Yeah, Courtney just surfing with so much intent, aggression right off the get-go. The start of her waves, and just from start to finish was blasting each and every section. Complete roundhouse cut back there, and look at the conditions. Just beautiful, and those carving, arcing, full acceleration through every turn. And I think Sal just got overpowered in this heat. You know, she wasn't on the biggest waves, and well, she tried valiantly to fight back, and she did do some great turns, but just there was a difference in power that was undeniable in this one.
You could just see how flawless Courtney's power was. Sally surfed well in the smaller waves, but hit so much more wave face for Courtney to work with. She got into the 7 range, and Sally was always chasing Courtney Conlogue. These two have had so many big moments in their career together, and we'll see if Sally can pull off a miracle heading to the west. The Australian legends will have their work cut out for them when we head to Margaret River. But for Courtney, her job's not done yet. She was sitting so far back on the rankings, Shannon. She's thinking she's got to win a bell to even have a chance to be at G-Land.
Yeah, this was a massively important result for Conlogue's career. Not even just like for the, you know, to win another bell, but literally career on the line. For Courtney to have advanced past her good friend Sal. They've been traveling together since they were 14 years old, not just on the CT, but in boat trips and so many different things. So for them to have that emotional battle and then to see that camaraderie of the two, you know, Sal just wants to see Courtney go all the way now.
It's so interesting to see how our veterans could potentially hang on and what's at stake for them in the next couple of events, Richie. You know, it's not every day that you're saying goodbye to legacies on tour. You think about the era when Rochelle Ballard moved on, you know, Kayala Kennelly. Saying goodbye back then was just as hard, but when they're under pressure to requalify, you know, the world will be watching every single heat come Margaret River.
Yeah, they'll be watching every single heat. They'll also be watching what they do if they do drop off tour. You know, will they go back on the Challenger Series and save themselves and get them back on tour, because that's the reality of this tour now, and it's the reason why it's set up the way it is. You fall off, you go back and you do some hard yards, you get back in the trenches, and then you make it back onto the Dream Tour again. So it'll be really interesting to see. You know, if Sal doesn't make it, I feel like she will go and grind straight away.
She's in the draw for Gold Coast.
Well, there you go.
Her and Courtney.
You would have to think that Steph will probably do Snapper Rocks because it's her backyard. So I think both our women, if they do drop off again, will compete in that event. The long-term forecast from there, a little bit unknown.
That's right. I mean, there's a lot to just enjoy this year. New formats, new Challenger Series, and we'll see what those veterans end up deciding. Waiting in the balance for the results at Margaret River. Bubble watch on the men's side, just as exciting. Remember, top 22 will move on to G-Land, and we see the names still standing behind the cut. Well, it's one name there, Owen Wright, as he will have Ethan Ewing in the quarterfinals. Jack Robinson was happy that he's the last man standing in that 5-way tie for 18th that we started with, and Callum's been nothing but brilliant. He'll have Miguel Pupo in the third quarterfinal, Shannon.
Yeah, I mean, just the fact that Owen Wright is still in the mix means there's some hope for him there. He's coming into this with less than 3,000 points, though. There's a lot of work ahead of him between here and Margaret River, and some tough matchups in those quarterfinals. He's got Ethan Ewing, who's been one of the performers of the event so far.
That's going to be a classic to watch. We've got a rematch from the final in 2019 in quarter number 2 with John and Felipe. Miguel Pupo is turning in his best start of his career. He's probably going to move into the top 10 after making the final series here. And Callum surfing out of his skin, beating one of his heroes earlier today. Jack Italo matchup. Ferreira looks like he might be in contention, Rich, for yet another bell this year.
I don't think we've seen Italo get out of fourth gear yet, to be honest. I think there's plenty more to give, and perhaps we'll see it tomorrow if we run. But it's interesting that third matchup is the only all-natural footer matchup. Every single other one is a natural versus goofy. So some really good surfing, some really good matchups, and critical one to start things off with the two Aussies. Owen, it's a must-win. And for Ethan, obviously, everyone's expecting him to do well out here.
Some big moments throughout the day today. Felipe Toledo is one of the best performers when it comes to competing on the Bells Bowl. He's looking for his first win out here. He's been runner-up in the past, and he looked incredible against Connor O'Leary today, Shannon.
I mean, have a look at those conditions early this morning. For him to be able to have waves like this, to push that progression and to take out a well-fought battle against Connor O'Leary, who also had a lot on the line. It was a really impressive performance from both surfers, to Connor to be able to match back, but Felipe was pretty much unbeatable.
Cool to see Connor swinging for the fences. He got a 6.83 and a 6.17. Solid turns there, but definitely Felipe was putting a lot of power into his momentum on the 7.83 and 8.43 for a solid combined total out front, Rich.
Yeah, some of the biggest waves of the day. And, you know, you think years back, you think 6 to 8 foot Bells Bowl is Felipe a favourite? Perhaps not, but now he's fixed up that rail game, and he is one of the favourites out here. I was chatting to him yesterday afternoon at his house, and he was telling me that he's gone to a longer board here for Bells, a 5.11, which still seems short, but his normal board is around 5.9, so 2 inches longer. And why did he do that? Because he wants to be able to extend those turns, sit on the rail for a lot longer, and it's just looking beautiful for Felipe out here.
And what a great opportunity for the title race for Felipe Toledo, last year's runner-up in the world. You look at that final 5 picture, he's the last man standing, came into Bells number 4 in the world after runner-up in Portugal. So he's in a great position to fight for yellow with Kanoa knocked out in the round of 32. O'Leary's going to try to stay focused to make the cut, but the goofy footer had some brilliant moments throughout the day today. And it's interesting where you get your matchups. You know, you always want to see Felipe and John battle it out again, because it was about them fighting for the big bell last year. Well, that heat's going to come early in the quarterfinals, Shannon. Looking forward to that.
Really looking forward to it. I think they've both really been stepping it up. For me, it's going to be John's the one to beat at the contest. The scores that he was dropping yesterday, can anyone touch them, really? If it's, you know, if he's on the right waves.
Oh, it was brilliant today, yesterday. I mean, you got to talk about John every time he's at Bells. When he's got a big wall, he's got the biggest carves in the business, and he had a little payback in store for Morgan Siblick. Siblick got a lot of hype in his profile from knocking out John in back-to-back events last season. Well, John in bigger waves completely took him out today, Rich.
Oh, man, just watching the replays here, it really was a clinic of power and rail surfing. And I'm just thinking back, if there is anyone who's going to be able to push John out here in this sort of form, it is Felipe Toledo. And it'll all depend on what is delivered up in terms of surf conditions. But, well, you know, hats off to Morgan Siblick. He did perform really, really well. I think just got a little let down with wave choice, and it was quite an inconsistent heat as well, top of the tide. But John, he picked the eyes out of it, got the best waves, and just delivered on each and every turn. A trademark carve where he sort of de-hinges the top and bottom part of his body is just so unique. No one's drawing the lines that John is doing, and it's got him sitting right at the top of everyone's pick.
He's got some of the biggest carves in the world. He's world famous for what he's done at Mainbreak Margaret River, but also here on the Bells Bowl when he's got kind of a canvas. He can lay into it with so much power. 817, 907, a big combo that he put on Morgan Siblick. That puts Siblick in a very scary situation for the cut. A guy that finished 5th in the world last year is under pressure to qualify for the back end of the season.
Yeah, there's so much pressure on Morgs right now, and coming off that high of a rookie season that's just unbelievable. Now to come into, and he's got some gritty work to get done, and so far hasn't quite been able to find the results to keep him in the mix.
It's so true, and obviously different events from last year, Rich. He found his feet through surfing at home at Newcastle, surfing in Narrabeen. He beat John in those events, surfing at Rottnest Island. You know, there's not a lot of the same events happening this year, so now he's kind of getting used to Bells, really as a rookie, competing on tour.
Yeah, it's uncharted waters for Morgan Siblick at the moment, and everything seemed to come too easy last year. You know, up the top of the ratings, beating the best in the world, and he was going, well, how easy is this? I've got it made.
Easiest job ever.
But second-year syndrome, we see it happening so often, and it's a steep plummet back down to reality. So he'll find it again. It just may take a little while for him to reconnect and find what he needs to make it work.
Looking through the quarterfinals, they're set and ready to go for the men's side as we have so many big highlights, but earning the moment of the day, the Boost Mobile wave of the day. John Florence in back-to-back days of competition gets this top honor, 907 that we just witnessed that he applied against Morgan Siblick. Shannon, what do you love about it?
Just the engagement of the rail, the variety of the turns that he brought through. It's no surprise that he's gone back-to-back on the waves of the day here at Bells Beach. It's everything we would have expected, and really when he's on the right waves, I just don't think there's a rail game that can be any better than John Florence.
So powerful. He uses that layback to his advantage, and it's one of those turns that's so lethal. I don't mind seeing it as much as we do. It doesn't get old. He has so many different versions of a layback carve to a layback blowtail, and every time it's going to demand an excellent scoring ride.
Yeah, he has that ability to switch it up a little bit and make it unique to whichever wave he's riding, and he keeps the judges engaged in what he's doing. You can never get tired of watching that because it's still unpredictable, even though you know it's going to be magnificent in terms of the rail engagement and the power. And that's the unique thing that he's bringing, so he's untouchable at the moment.
Oh, so many good things to talk through on this Good Friday on the WSL Post Show. Big shock is thrown to everybody sitting in the car park right here on site at Bells Beach as everyone is joined at Cooper's as well. Much more to talk about, including the top 5 right after this. You are watching the WSL Post Show on this beautiful Friday afternoon. A lot to celebrate, especially when you're getting perfect bells. Let us know how you're feeling after a good ride. The fist pump, that's a classic. When you doubled it up, that really has a whole lot of meaning, and that's actually a pretty casual one for Italo. Not the case for Sammy Pupo. He still had energy after that one. Tyler's back, and she's ready to roar. You got to really express yourself. I mean, claims are always going to be around in pro surfing. Shannon, how do you feel about it?
You know, occasionally they're cringe, but there are moments when it's just so fun out there that you have to let that emotion free. And Tyler said in her post-heat, you know, it's not usual of her to do that. She's all about it now, and I'm backing it.
Richie, Does everyone claim on tour? Is it fair to say that? Is there such thing as a no claim?
I'm trying to think who doesn't claim, and I'm struggling to come up with a name right now because, obviously there's some repeat offenders that bring it on all the time. But for me, I like to see it reserved for the really special moment, and it's got to be in the excellent range or a super clutch moment in a heat where you steal it or something like that. So
8s are better.
8s are better.
You're allowed.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to go with that. That sounds great. Well, let's check out the Surfline forecast to see what we could have as we're getting near to finals day here at the Rip Curl Pros Bells Beach. Thanks so much, Schaller Perry, for letting us know we're going to score the last couple of days. What do we have to look forward to tomorrow, Rich?
Well, I think it's actually going to be more of the same, if not bigger. These purple blobs just keep delivering this southwesterly swell that's fetching up into the Bells Beach region there. We're on the corner of the bottom of Australia there, right up just above Tasmania. And, it's been a blessing that we've had this swell on tap for the last couple of days because it was looking horrible for the first few days. So tomorrow we're looking at a kind of a side offshore wind in the 5 to 8 foot, but look at the period, 14 seconds. That's what we want. It's those real long period swells. The wind's going to get a little bit unpredictable towards deeper into the weekend. So we're going to have a serious look at tomorrow. We may crown a champion. We'll just have to wait and see, but we'll be here bright and early.
I can't believe what we walked into when we showed up at Bells. This Surfline forecast didn't look like that. We're absolutely scoring. When we drive up to the contest every morning in the dark, there's that electric sign. It says pray for waves in the beginning because it looked like we weren't going to get anything to surf, and then now it says prayers are answered. We're scoring. It definitely feels like a gift to have some of the best surf we've had all season the last couple days.
Yeah, it's exactly what we would have hoped for, but not what we were expecting in any way, and that almost makes it even better. It's like that real blessing has arrived. It's Easter weekend. There's waves on offer, and everyone's ready for it and excited because we didn't know we were going to have that opportunity.
The Southern Ocean is so volatile that it can change so quickly. There's always these big storms developing, and thankfully for us, we've had a couple just pop up and they've sent this magic swell to us.
So cool. Now it's time for the daily top 5 on the WSL Post Show, starting at number 5 on the list. How classic was this? We love a good paddle battle. Felipe and Connor O'Leary catapulting themselves off the ski here, Rich.
Yeah, this was, it was eagerly watched by everybody. And as they both got off the ski, it was kind of neck and neck. And then Felipe just put in the big ones and managed to get priority at that point, kicking, paddling, diving deep. And these guys, their boards are so thin, they're kind of like,
they're basically
almost swimming.
They're swimming right now.
They're pretty much swimming, but yeah, you can see just how desperate they were to regain priority. Look, at the end of the day, regardless of the situation here, I think Felipe just outsurfed Connor, who was taking nothing away from him, surfing amazing all through this event and in this heat, but today I think Felipe just too good.
Coming at number 4, Steph Gilmore. How was that layback, Shannon?
One of my favorite things of the entire event. I honestly don't know how she pulled it back, aside from the fact that there was just a little boost from God, and that wave shoved her back to her feet. And such a cool classic move.
Such an impressive maneuver there. Number 3 on the daily top 5. Owen Wright staying alive. He's matched his personal best result at Bells. He knows he has to go much further to survive the cut line.
Yeah, well, he started the day with some amazing surfing, really opened things up for us. And Owen, in a clutch situation, has just, he's really lent into Cahill Belwarren, local lad with plenty of coaching experience. He's made a couple of adjustments. He said he's tweaked things around a little bit, even in technique-wise, style, arm positioning. And it really seems to be working for him. Some of the best backhand surfing we saw all day.
So steady, so reliable. He was on the best sets, and that's been making the biggest difference. He got past Nat Young this morning as well, and Owen even gave Nat a huge compliment, calling him the modern-day Mark Occhilupo. He knew how dangerous Nat would be here at the Bowl as a previous finalist. Owen's trying to keep his spot alive on tour. At number 2 on the daily top 5, Mick Fanning versus Callum Robson. definitely one of the heats of the year.
This one gave me goosebumps. It was wild to watch Callum come from behind where Mick had some great waves, but Callum just brought it all through. He had the energy and the desire, knowing that his career is on the line, and he really wants to make a statement here, not only in his rookie year, but against one of his fans, an all-time Australian surfer in Mick Fanning.
And it was crazy how this heat started with mistakes from both Mick and Callum. They both fell on their first waves. This was right on the high tide. I don't know if they were ready for it to pulse like it did, and Mick had this lead all the way until Callum's last wave, Rich.
Yeah, Mick was he was surfing, I think, at about 90% of what we could expect from Mick. He just wasn't quite connecting the rail like we're used to seeing, and I'm being particularly fussy on those comments. But Callum Robson, you know, he put in a masterful display of power surfing, and you can see just really accelerating and loading up on each and every turn. And it was that final wave that he just had to surf it out of his skin, and he had this final section that sealed the deal for him. And well, that was it. We had to farewell the 4 times champ.
So cool. Mick Fanning in his 100th heat surfed at Bells. Callum broke the streak of quarterfinal appearances in the last decade for Mick Fanning. And when Callum learned that, he said, there we go, I got him. Like, he was so proud to be the guy that was able to break that streak against one of his heroes. He knows what a big scalp that was. Moving on into the quarterfinals, taking the #1 spot on the top 5 is Tyler Wright, back in form into the semifinals.
She is so hungry right now. It's so exciting to be able to just see her surf, to find that rail engagement, to go for those laybacks, and man, especially at a spot like Bells where she's come close to taking home the big trophy and she hasn't yet, and I gotta believe she's got that desire and it's burning inside of her to take it home.
Something's just clicking into gear for Tyler. I think I was mentioning this to you, Rich. I was like, I haven't seen her connect it with a wave in a long time, and I think as soon as I finished that sentence, she blew up on the bowl. It truly feels like she's back.
Yeah, she's here and feeling good. Equipment's good, the body's good, the mind's good. Everything's starting to click. Warning signs for the rest of the women in the field.
Tyler Wright has a couple small bells. She's been runner-up a couple of times to Carissa Moore. Now she's trying to hunt down her first title here. It's kind of crazy to think this is an event she hasn't won yet. And in the press conference, she said, that's all I want to do. It's like the one major goal that's popping out to her this year, to win the Big Bell. So far, so good, but she has to get through Courtney Conlogue.
She's got the toughest in it. I mean, Courtney's really dominated over the last 4 years. She missed the opportunity in 2018 to compete because of injury. Steph took that one, but out of that, it's been Courtney that's been untouchable here. Now for Tyler to see if she can get her name right here on this bell. It's the only mainstay Australian event Tyler hasn't won, so that's got to be itching in the back of her mind, and it's going to be interesting to see who comes out on top between those two.
Really cool looking at the quarters for the men. Rich, I haven't heard your favorite to win on the men's side. Will it be John defending his title here at Bells Beach?
I know the obvious answer is to say yes. I'm going to go with Philippe.
Look at that. So Felipe in the rematch for the final in 2019. Shannon, agree or disagree?
I'm going John. The surfing that we've seen the last 2 days, the scores are undeniable, and I got to just go with a favorite.
Loving that. So a couple of great picks.
Joe?
Make sure you're... Oh, me too. Yes, exactly. I thought Felipe from day one. I feel like it's his turn to ring the big bell. Maybe we'll find out tomorrow morning. Enjoy the rest of your Good Friday, and we'll see you bright and early for the call. It's a Good Friday here in Australia. Bells continues to pulse with some dreamlike conditions as Owen Wright preparing for the first heat of the morning.
Nat Young is up on a good-looking wall.
Owen Wright surfing for survival.
Belts it.
Wow.
Owen's on fire.
At the back, Jackson Baker is a little Aussie battler. He's right on the tail pad.
Always win.
This is just right in his wheelhouse, isn't it?
Comes down to this sort of thing, though.
The showdown in the F1. The paddle battle is on.
Whoa, Philippe's a leader.
Whoa!
As we see John Florence.
The trademark layback hack.
Mick Fanning, the 4-time Bells champion.
Look at that.
Oh, just gets swamped.
Chloe just absolutely goes nuts on this wave.
Miguel Pupo.
Just has such a fluid action.
I wanna make a project that's on decks. I want a nicer car and no stress. I want more money, no debts, and I wanna care less about trying to impress. Like, I wanna make a project that's on decks. I want a nicer car and no stress. I want more money, no debts, and I wanna care less about trying to impress. I wanna make a project that's on decks. I want a nicer car and no stress. I want more money, no debts, and I wanna care less about trying to impress. Like, I wanna make a project that's on decks. I want a nicer car and no stress. I want more money, no debts, and I wanna care less about trying to impress.
You know, back in the day, we used to finger pop on the corn and everybody was high strung. A little bit of soul on the radio didn't hurt nobody, baby. We was jamming. So certain. All down. In a vinyl groove. So certain. All down. Gonna make you move. Wow. So certain everywhere I go.
This copyrighted event broadcast is produced by the World Surf League for broadcast around the world and may not be retransmitted, reproduced, rebroadcast, or otherwise distributed or used in any form without the written consent of the World Surf League.